Bum, 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 bum. Have you got me?
Yes, I've got you. Still got me?
Beautiful. Mate, you understand this there? Is that what I'm saying?
Yes, I am.
I like it. I like it. It's very good, mate. We have the great Nick Caldwell coming to us all the way from Perth. Mate, you've been on before. By far one of my most favourite episodes and coolest peoples I've been able to interview by far. And then when I speak to all the people, you're one of their favourites too.
Oh, thank you. That's good to hear.
Just let you know. And mate, I'm an avid follower of everything you do and the mill itself. And it's cool. It's in Brisbane now as well, which is super rad. But for those that are new and haven't seen or heard you, mate, I'll give you the opportunity. Who you are and what you do is the classic way to introduce.
Sure. Well, firstly, thanks for having me on again. Absolute pleasure to be on. Thought I'd just come out of the woodwork because we do have another initiative that I'll talk about. But just as a bit of background on me, I'm originally from Queensland. I moved over here because I was posted over here when I did selection for SAS. Prior to that, I was in Sydney for 6 years as a commando in the now called 2 Commando Regiment.
Mm-hmm.
I was very lucky to have served at a time when there was a lot going on in the Australian military, a lot going on around the world. So the ups and downs of that career has been probably effectively the highlight of my life up until the point I got married and had kids, obviously. But at the end of the day, it was a very formational period of my life, service in the Army, especially service in Special Forces. Very lucky to have served overseas on 4 deployments. Spent 6 years in the unit. Then I got out of the Army in 2008. Did some time as a reservist back to the Army. I also did some contract time back to the Army as well. But since that time of getting out of the Army, we've started, myself and 5 of my SAS mates, started a gym, which is called Mill Gym. It's been going now for 16 years. So
that's extraordinary.
When you think about it, we've probably got the worst business model in the world in terms of gyms. So we're very lucky to make it this far. And I'll say that because we actually questioned ourselves because of the business model for probably about 7 years after opening the gym, because it took a long time to get momentum. And the reason why it was the worst business model is because we had a selection process to become a member here. In our first year of operation, we had 11 people try out, and 2 people passed. So we had a gym with 2 members. It's pretty quiet, but it's pretty quiet.
Members in there that you liked, right? That's the most important part.
What's that? Sorry.
You had members in there you liked, though.
Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, those guys are still members to pretty much this day.
That's cool.
I was the best man at one of their weddings about 5-6 years ago.
That's cool.
Those guys have stayed with us really because we haven't wavered from what we said we would do initially. And reasons why they came to us and they thought it was worth their time to put in the effort to actually pass our initiation process. We held that standard ever since. Thankfully, there's enough people who get that, to pick up what we were putting down and saw that it was worthy enough to take on the risk of potentially not passing our initiation process. But those are the people you want, right? Those are the people who get it. Those are the people who understand why we have standards and why it's important to enforce standards. And I think the biggest thing about that now, which makes this place so good, is the fact that they all live and enforce the standards as well. So effectively, we don't have to be in the room to make sure that everything's everything as it should be. We can leave and do other stuff if we need to, and always come back to the same culture. The expectations, the same level of standard in terms of technique, in terms of work ethic, in terms of treatment of each other and respect for each other. So that's effectively the short version of my backstory.
Mate, I had a similar conversation with a client the other day, and he goes, "Jonny, how do you make it so hard for people to join the gym at Fortitude?" Because we have a 2-week. Because the type of person is literally the right person for the community is who we want. And they said, "Why do you make it so hard? You got to advertise." I was like, "I don't want to. I'm here every day. I only want to be around people I want to be around."
100%.
That's it. I need to, because we're in a business partner set that money for our gym, we don't have bad days. We love going there.
Well, you've engineered your workspace, and there's enough people who get it now that they can make that viable for you to continue to do that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, all credit to you. It's a risk to knock back people who effectively are fee-paying members.
Yeah.
But you also, inherently, there's also risks with managing people that will not contribute to the environment. And that's the critical element.
100%. And then I think, I mean, because I'm a bit of an optimist and want to be able to help everyone in the world get fitter and stronger, etc., that if they don't fit there, I'm not the right person for them neither, right? And I'm a hindrance to their progress as a human on their journey of fitness and strength. Like, I'm not the right one for them. And there's plenty of opportunities in other places, and I don't want to step in the way of their progress and have a negative time. And then they don't do it now, right? Like, I want to make sure they're still doing it. So,
yeah, well, that's the thing. It's very commendable because, I mean, we realise that we're not the solution for everyone. We also realise that within 7 blocks of us, there's probably about 5 or 6 gyms or fitness type studios. So there's plenty of options. Like, at the end of the day, we can't fix everyone's problems. Not everyone's suited to this training. And we can't basically boil the ocean in terms of making sure that we're solve all for everything and everyone. So we specialise initially in making sure that we can at least pass on the knowledge and experience that we've had, in particular our operational experience and preparation for those services and those units or similar units. For people who want to go down that path, well, I think we can best contribute in that space in terms of making sure or helping the next line of operators or next line of servicemen and women to be better operators or more highly capable than we were. When we look back at our times before we joined the Army, we would have loved to have someone who we could just go to and say, okay, what do you think about this? Or is this the right way to go? Or what about this training method? Or is this the technique? Am I ready? All those questions, you never know. Fortunately, there's more information out there on the internet now, but still, it's very difficult to get someone to assess you for where you are in space of time in terms of preparation for what you want to do. And because selection and courses like that are so difficult, they are so outside of the norm for most people, it's hard to know where you sit on the scale and if you have a realistic chance or not. So that's the service and the function that we provide. But we're very lucky that there are people who may not be attempting special forces selection or may not even be in the military or law enforcement, but they have the same mindset where the driving goal or the driving thing that we can do in this environment is contribute. And it must be a meaningful level of contribution. And everyone's on the same page in terms of what it means to be in this environment, what it means to actually help this environment flourish. And that's the space we want to create. That's the space we want to rock up to every day and all day. And these are the people we want to hang out with and train with and push each other. So,
I love that. Now, for those who don't know, there's a fitness requirement, right? And it's a bit broad to get in the door. And you need to be able to complete said thing at a minimum standard. Then you guys have levels within that, if I'm not.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So we have 6 levels.
The minimum standard of entry to be able to come and play.
Well, because the standards are actually scores. So 10 points is 1 point, is level 1, 20 points 2. So we have 10 tests, which you do, 10 techniques, which you do in an hour. It starts with a 2K row. And then you've got 9 more after that, which you have to achieve. And they're all scored from 1 to 6, 6 being the fittest. And obviously we need to set a standard because the programming we have for our general population here in the gym is a relatively high intensity. And if you're not used to that, you run the risk of getting injured, overworked, or overtrained. So because we understand we can't cater for everyone, we'll just cater for certain people over a certain level. That ensures that if everyone in that room is of that level or of a higher standard, then it's much more beneficial to the members to be able to push their level or not have to go at half speed because they're waiting on someone else or someone doesn't quite have the technique or the philosophy that is required to go at that pace, at that weight, so forth and so on. So if we set the standards, then we know, Ryan, you've always got a standard to aim for. If you're level 3, you aim for a level 4. Level 4s get the T-shirt, so we give you the T-shirt.
Little bragging rights.
Yes, no bragging rights. Yeah. So I mean, that's we're not, like I said, we're the worst business model in the world. We don't sell T-shirts. We don't sell drinks. We don't sell anything. There's 4 walls and some heavy gear inside, and that's about it. And when you come in, it's very industrial, very basic. Nothing's finessed in terms of the aesthetics of the facility inside. But that's not really what it's about. It's about what the effort you put in for yourself and for the guys and girls around you.
Yeah.
So the T-shirt's just acknowledgement of you pushing yourself or accepting that I've still got more work to do.
Yep.
And it gives you a little reward from going for a level 3, which is the basic standard entry to join the gym membership here, to going to the next level. And then after that, there's still another 2 levels. It's level 5 and 6.
Yep.
To this point, we have not had anyone hit a level 6. So we actually designed a level 6 T-shirt. We did
really?
5 T-shirt.
Yeah. Damn, you see someone walking around, when the day comes and someone earns that, you see someone on the street with level 6.
Yeah, there won't be many. Yeah, there's no bar.
Yeah. I absolutely love that. There's a powerlifting coach in our circles, Sebastian. He had a shirt called Strong Motherfucker. You generally, and he talked proudly about how he would only give that to his top tier lifters when they reach some level of insane strength standard. So if you ever saw anyone walking around the comp scene in one of those, you knew that that person was an alien.
Well, that's the effect we're trying to give.
Yeah. I love that, mate. And I think having the non-conventional business model is the reason for such a successful space, which is unreal.
Yeah.
And 16 years of business as well. Like, do you sit back and pinch yourself with so much time in the game?
Well, it's gone pretty quickly, and it's been it's been fun. There's been no down times. I mean, there's always down times, but they're always overshadowed. But at the end of the day, you always look at you can always look back. 16 years for a gym. Look at the population in terms of turnover, in terms of membership numbers. Are you at capacity? If you can enjoy the fact you're at capacity year in, year out, and it takes very, very minimal marketing effort. Turnover is only really the majority of the people who leave the gym are leaving the gym because they've successfully passed their selection course, that they've successfully entered into the organisation they were training for. Those people still stay in touch and they still train with us. They still come back whenever they're in Perth if they move away from Perth. So we enjoy that community, and we enjoy the fact that people value their membership here. Like they always are very polite, saying, "Look, I've got to leave. Is it okay? Do I still retain my membership?" And at the end of the day, if you pass initiation, you're always a member. You still have to maintain your standards. You still have to pass the test every year to maintain minimum level 3 to actually train and get the keys to train here when you want. And the trainers, we all still have to pass the T-shirt.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you don't, that's cool. They'll accept the fact that they don't pass. They have to go back to the training squad with the training wheels and retest it sometime in the future.
Oh, how much that drop on a level.
Oh, that's pretty motivating, right? So
that must be a fun. Do you do that at the start of the year and then the crew comes together and everyone does the testing together as a pool?
No, they do it individually because we have to have a one-on-one instructor to test ratio because we have to be exacting on the standards. So doing a group test, it's very difficult for one instructor to maintain the standards for more than one individual. And whilst we trust our members, they also expect that we will be watching every detail of every technique. So
the vibe in the gym must be pretty good leading into that time of year, though, right? Everyone must be pretty fired up.
It's just another motivational factor. Not that these guys need another motivational factor. They're all pretty motivated for whatever reason. But to know just the fact that they're being tested every year is a standard that they enjoy. And there's always the banter that comes with that. If you get 1 point more than someone else, they had it over you last year, then it just drives you to work harder for the next test. And some would test 2 or 3 times a year because they just want to hit that number. And that's cool too. No worries.
Just because they ran up their training, mate, they've got more points than you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that every little bit, if that's the competitive spirit you've got and that drives you to work harder, then mate, we're all for it.
That's unreal. And then being 6, the thing I always reflect on in my 16, because I think I've done 16 as well, we're about the same, is the involvement of this space existing now.
Yeah.
You've been I remember having a conversation with someone telling me about an iPhone, and I said that was the dumbest thing in the world. I have a pen and a paper, so that's programming sorted, and we're going to be on this internet. That sounds dumb. And how have you enjoyed the challenge, and how have you kept the middle to date with what's going on? And do you put much is it much focus there for you as well?
Well, it's a big question because obviously we came from the world, like being the SAS, the requirement is that you've got what we call protected identity status. So, which means that protected identity status means that your details, your identity, that cannot be publicised at all. And to some extent, we leave that organisation thinking that we still want to protect our family, because we've seen how bad it is, how dangerous it is out there in terms of outside our own Australian borders. To know that if these organisations are targeting individuals, well, they'll target the individuals who are targeting them effectively overseas. So we under that belief that we should maintain protected identity status. So for the first probably 5 to 7 years of this gym, we never really published who we were. We did the odd, I did the odd article, because that is what's required to run a business and get some marketing. And I think the moment that I started doing podcasts, and I think yours was one of the first, is when the business actually changed noticeably, because prior to actually talking about who we were and what we do, and also talking and having a face to the name, it was like, these guys are too cool for school. No one knows who they are. They don't want to get publicised, so it's not really going to help them with marketing. I don't know enough about them to trust them, to pay them to do the initiation. So after I started doing podcasts, that's when the business changed. And it just goes to show that the social media absolutely works. It does work. And you can do it your own way. You don't have to sell out completely. There are enough people in this massive fitness market to be able to fund or make your business viable if you appeal to that audience and you appeal in a way that provides value to them. So I think for us, all credit goes to my wife for managing our social media. She's been very managed, and she's as ardent on our standards as anyone in the gym. So it's one of those things that she will never allow any aspect of the brand to be put out there unless we back the brand, or someone who's wearing it has earned it through our standards test. In short, like, social media is a game changer. I came through the army when there was no smartphones. So it's one of those things where I had to do a lot of thinking about that. But once I started talking about who we were and what we did, why we did it, the business changed.
Have you enjoyed the expanded way you can help people with your product for people getting ready for higher levels of service? Because I know that you guys do some online stuff as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's the part of the business since COVID, actually. COVID was another step change for us. We were very lucky we never had to shut the gym. I think we shut the gym for a total of probably 5 or 6 days over that whole 2 year period, because it was mandated by state government. But our online business grew. Like, we had a very rudimentary online business online programming porthole for that. And during COVID, we saw the massive uptick in sales. And so we revamped the whole site, the whole portal, to the point where it's still growing today. And it's obviously a very key part of our business now. It's allowed us to access more people in terms of feedback for the actual programming. So their information, the data that they provide to us, advises or gives us a guidance in terms of how things are working, especially when we can't see the athlete doing the program. In fact, we never met the athlete doing the program because we're so used to being hands-on up to that point. We do online programming, online mentoring for individuals who sign up to it. So we do have the ability to manage and monitor their training. By and large, we have to design programs where the requirement is that you still have to do the GAC standards test, because our special operations preparedness program is of a volume and an intensity that would break most people, and that's by design, and that is required because selection is like high volume and high intensity for 3 weeks solid. Plus, you've got 18 months of further courses, which are very stressful. So we've got to design a program like that, but unfortunately, we can't just say anyone can do it, because we'll end up breaking everyone. So the GAC standards still have to be done to be able to give that online members an indication of which program they should be working on. And just to look at that GAC standards test we've done since over 14 years, over about 114 operators, either ex-operators, current serving, or have been successful or about to be successful on selection, have been a minimum standard level 4. So for us, it's very good data to say that if you want to know if you're at least at the start point for having a realistic chance of passing a selection course, at least from a GPP standard, our GAC standards test is leaning back on those 100 operators and their results And that's a minimum level 4. There's guys there, majority are high level 4s to level 5 standard fitness.
Yeah, it must. What sort of feedback do you get from your guys once they've been through your system and then they are successful going through? Do they contribute a lot of their success with their time?
Well, I'll tell you, it's been pretty good. But it's one of those things where, once they basically when they pass selection, they go into a vortex. So they literally go into the whirlwind of courses that they have to do. So you rarely hear from them until they've finished, until they've come out the other end. So we've had messages as simple as, a New Zealand operator passed selection about 3 years ago. He said like 148 people started, 3 people finished, and I was one of them. Thanks. So that was it. That was the feedback. So okay, no, that's good enough. That's probably the best feedback.
That's pretty good though. Yep. 100%. And then being a successful business owner, you're constantly changing and doing stuff. The space to mentoring people, because I know you're working with footy teams and all sort of other team sports and then corporates and stuff. Was that something you considered yourself doing anyways, or was that something that was someone said, hey, bro, you're pretty inspiring. I want you to come and talk for us?
It was a bit of both. We did our first pre-season for the Freo Dockers in 2009, and that was probably a 12-week process of working with those guys. And it was their most successful season to that point, in fact. So it was
just saying.
Just saying. But they obviously made the finals a couple of years ago. But it was an indicator to us that we had something that was worth, at least following the thread and seeing where it leads to.
Yep.
And a lot of that is really based on we've come from a very unique time where we've actually got Australian soldiers who have had more combat experience than any Australian soldier in our history, because it's the accumulation of time spent between Southeast Asia, Afghanistan, and Iraq. So we were the benefit of that experience, and that gives us a pretty unique selling point, but two also gives us a unique perspective on a lot of things. And I think that our clients appreciate that perspective, not just from a wartime soldier, peacetime soldier, but soldier who's actually done it to its fullest extent, and being able to relate those learnings and relate those experiences has been probably the biggest point of positive feedback for us, is that we're literally putting the application of things that everyone it would help everyone, but giving it context in terms of high consequence situations and how it can help you in whatever sport, trade, craft, or profession that you are currently pursuing.
That's pretty cool, mate. I think if the Broncos ever knock on the door for you, can you please take them on? They need your help.
All right, we can only do one. So we're only doing one team per league, per division.
Can't have favourites.
So we did Parramatta obviously this season. Yeah, I know. I've got to watch who I say that to. And then the year before with the Seagulls. So we've got to wait until the end of this season before we say yes to anyone else in the
NRL. Please. I want a premiership out of them would be nice. And that the thing that I'm most looking for, I mean, love hearing anything from you, but you've got the next business thing you've got coming up, the Tier 1 games.
Yeah, I guess Tier 1's the second dream come true, effectively. If the mill, having a lifestyle you can train with your mates all the time. You get to pick who your mates are, who get to walk in the door, and then every time you come back, it's like you've got a sense of family within the room. Then then you're forced to live a healthy lifestyle by default, because there's no excuse not to train. There's no excuse not to push yourself. There's no excuse not to. There's no excuse to do something that's unhealthy, because there's no need. It's just part of the environment we've built. So the next stage is, well, what other things do we love doing, and how can we monetize it effectively? So we're all obviously ex-operators, so that the shooting is a big part of our life. It was a big part of our life, and for the current owners of the gym, shooting is still a very big part of their life. So we thought, okay, how can we make this something that would enable us to maintain the healthy lifestyle and make our shooting tax deductible? So Tier 1's the way to go. So, but thankfully there's enough people who get this as well, because it's quite a unique sport. I mean, the firearms industry needs a shot in the arm in terms of showing that it's a very healthy sport. It's an outdoorsy sport. The community is very responsible. The community is very very sophisticated in terms of its understanding of the risks of this game,
Yep.
It's effectively the safest sport in Australia, arguably, if you look at the numbers.
Yeah.
So if we can in any way, benefit the industry, because we're all healthy, we're all family men, we're all shooters, we all like to compete, we all like to train. We rarely drink, if any. Most of us don't drink at all. Like, it's one of those things that, well, this is who we are, and we love shooting. So let's see if we can show the world that, or at least show Australian community that this is the type of people who are firearms owners.
Yep.
And what we found is it's for the fitness industry guys, it's a novelty that they had never contemplated before, because you can only do this in the States up to this point. It was that you could only do this in the US with the tactical games and competitions like that.
Yep.
Because through years of shooting and operating within the community, we know that there's actually things that we can do here in Australia, and we can make it accessible to people who don't shoot, who aren't firearms license owners, and who effectively may not have ever shot before. As long as you're fit, as long as you train, as long as you can do the techniques, and you can finish the workout within the time limit, and the second phase of that workout is the shooting phase. Yep. So that we tested the model a month ago in Brisbane.
Yep. Successful.
Very successful. Yeah. Wow. So it was a ball. Two, was highly competitive. But we tested every aspect of it in terms of the range safety officers, the workouts, the workout equipment, the location, facility. We tried all the workouts in terms of what works and what doesn't work. If it didn't work, then we tweak it and do it again, that sort of thing. And then we also had amongst that mix of lab rats with the people who'd never shot before. They literally, the first time of shooting was after they'd done a workout, so they're slightly gassed, sweaty, and covered in grass or whatever.
Yep.
And then we had a couple of guys who shot a lot just to test how it all went. And we're obviously very stoked with it. So we didn't make it public until after we did that. And when we made it public, I think we made it public about 2.5 weeks ago.
It must have blown up.
Oh, mate, I don't think I've answered my phone. I've answered the phone more times in the last 2.5 weeks than I have in my entire life, I reckon. So I'm not really a phone kind of guy. Even my mates ring my wife. So now I'm taking calls from unknown numbers, which is, for me, is a massive step.
It's a big one.
But it's been wild. It's been unreal, the feedback.
Yeah.
The buy-in from other states already. We're talking to other states and other ranges and other host locations and facilities. Yeah. The police in various states, just to say, mate, this is awesome. Let us know when you're here. In Queensland, we're yet to approach the police formally, but we don't really need to, because we sit under a very, very structured legislative process with the club that we're using.
Yep.
This is a process that we can replicate in most states.
Wow.
Obviously, every state has their own differences in their firearms law, and we just work around it. We just basically find ways that we can make this happen, still to make the experience safe, but also enjoyable, but enable these games to be conducted in every state.
Wow. And from first idea with the boys, we enjoy shooting, we enjoy fitness. How do we put that together? When did you first think of this as a thing you wanted to do?
Well, we've been doing similar stuff. Obviously, we did similar stuff in the unit. Like, literally, that's the whole game. You would potentially do a shooting serial where you're running to the range, or you're stalking to the range, or you're doing dune running or something with all your kit on. Then by the time you get to the range, you've got to hit targets in a certain amount of time. And you scored on your points per second, basically.
Yep.
And then they could be teamed, like patrol competitions where patrols are competing against each other. And then the military has an ASAM competition where there's elements of physical fitness and shooting. And then we were looking at the biathlon guys and, cross-country skiing with shooting.
Yep.
And so it's always been in the nexus for a long time, 20 years in fact. And we were effectively, because we still are able to shoot on some ranges, some of the guys are still wearing their heavy weight plates, because it's now a CrossFit thing to wear weight plates.
Yep.
Which is great, because it actually adds up the resistance and adds up the load in terms of trying to, down-regulate your arousal levels to actually shoot accurately.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but really, I've got to give the credit to Ben Kelleher, who's our gym owner and gym manager in Brizzy. He's basically an East Coast general manager. Yep. He and his team said, well, why don't we do it here? Literally, I've spoken to our range guys, because we were running camps, a camp called a Havoc Camp, where there is a shooting module in that camp. So it's a leadership training camp, but the people who sign up to it, the executive course, part of the packages will take them to the range, and we'll do some practical shooting training with them. And it's been, for those individuals who never shot before and to shoot at that scale, it's been quite a difference for one of the camps that we do.
Yeah.
So he just said, like, let's, that thing that you been talking about, let's do it. And so he basically teed it up. Ewan, who's one of the coaches over there, he designed the workouts.
Yep.
And he ensured that the workouts were workouts that paid tribute to veterans.
Yep.
So he designed the workouts as phases for an operation, a military operation.
Yep.
And then once they brought it all together and we did the proof of concept, then it was like, okay, we assigned roles and responsibilities. This is what we need to do to get this done. Give ourselves 6 weeks and let's see how we go. Here we are.
Yeah. And then obviously legislation's a tricky one, right? I can only imagine there's some rules and some stuff you got to be right across to be able to combining a lot of this stuff and then put it in a public space in a range, right?
Yeah, correct. I mean, it's obviously it's very serious. It's a sport that has a lot of restrictions to it, rightly and wrongly, but at the same time, it is a safe sport, and everyone that I've ever met in the industry is very responsible. At the end of the day, they understand the consequences of not being safe with firearms, and that's because of the nature of firearms. So the laws in most states reflect that requirement to take this thing seriously.
Yep.
And but we do see it's quite a mature industry in terms of practical shooting across Australia and across the world is an international sport, international event, and they run their international competitions every 2 to 3 years. I think there's one this year. I'm not sure where it is, but they take it very seriously, like the Olympic Games. And when I first started practical shooting outside the military, I realised these guys shoot way better than 99% of us military guys because they have to focus, obviously, on the technique and the speed and the accuracy. And arguably, we have to focus on that as well, but we also have to focus on people trying to shoot us back. So there's that. But from a purely shooting skill set, and these sports shooters taught me so much about shooting. Yeah. And what it says is that, and they're very protective of this sport, by the way. So if you go to them with a concept like this, hey guys, we're going to do a workout on your range, and then we're going to shoot, and we're going to allow people who've never shot before to do it, as long as they go to the training, meet the prerequisites. A lot of them were saying, no, not on my range. But fortunately enough, enough ranges have said yes, and I believe that after we run this showcase, the Invitational in March, people will actually see the standard in terms of the levels of safety and the safety measures and management processes in place that will get greater buy-in. And I think that for us, the firearms piece will be very, very easy to get once that event's run. It's now making that foray into the fitness industry, which is basically 1,000 times bigger than the firearms industry. It adds a level of complexity in terms of going from gross motor skill movements to complex or fine motor skill movements in being accurate, controlling your breath, controlling your heart rate, and then doing it as a team. That's where if you want to take your skill sets to the next level, we believe that Tier 1 will enable you to do that.
I think it's extraordinary.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing a lot more about it and working out how I get to come and do it.
Well, yeah, it's all, everyone's welcome. And at least we thought real hard about this first event. Like we thought, okay, should we just make it open to the public?
Yep.
What we wanted to really do is showcase it. So we want to ask people from different fitness industries, bodybuilding, from professional sport, from from health and fitness, from recovery studios, all that sort of stuff. We wanted to find the people that, if they understood what we were doing, they would come along and do it, and they would love it. And then what they would show their followership, how fun it is, how safe it is, also how intense it is, how enjoyable it is. And we believe that's going to be the outcome of this event on the 22nd. And then after that, we will announce the dates for the June-July first open event for the public. And then we've already got a huge number of expressions of interest from people all over the country. But I think we'll have a limit of 200 competitors in this first open event. I think we'll get that number pretty quickly after.
I think you could hit it now if you open the link.
Yeah, well, let's see. Let's see.
Take me through it start to finish. So it's a team of how many do it?
Two. Yeah, because on start to finish, this is the first iteration. So what we want to do is open it up to single individuals to compete for themselves. So it'll be at the highest level, there'll be individuals who are already practical pistol license holders who are also holster qualified, who can compete with their pistol unloaded, of course, during and do the workouts with their kit on. And then when they run onto the range arena, because there's a workout arena and the shooting arena, when they run into the shooting arena, that's when they can load up and go through the course of fire that has been laid out for them. So that's at its highest level. We plan for that. So what we're doing now as an introductory is we're enabling people to come in, share the load with a buddy, so they can train together. And then they will effectively do when the starting gun goes off, they'll do the workouts together, and there'll be different workouts. There's 4 different workouts for this first event, and the workouts, we've made the movement simple enough that anyone can do it. So it's not really for a specific fitness industry. It's trying to make it so everyone can do these movements. And finding the right dose to make it tricky enough for everyone has been the hard part here. But I think we're pretty close to it. And then once they've finished the workout aspect of it, and it might involve like a fireman's carry, it might involve there's air bike skis and rowers involved as well. There's farmers carries. There's a small wall obstacle to get over. Cool. There's sandbags. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that they have to get done. And then when they finish that phase, both team members are finished, they'll run into the shooting arena. And then one of the teammates will shoot at a time. Once the first one's finished their serial, they'll run back, tag their mate, and their mate will then run on. And once their mate is finished, their whole sequence of shooting will come back to the final control point. Time will stop.
Wow. And it's time-based?
Time-based. Yeah, time-based. And it's basically whatever score you shoot on your shooting serial is divided by the entire time for the workout and the So it's points per second.
And then for the unlicensed or unskilled pistol shooters, they obviously don't get to carry it through them. It's there once they've done your course, and they get to have a turn after they've done the fitness component.
So the safety officers on the range will be basically they will have the firearms for the individual to use when they come to the firing point. And they'll be carefully managed by the range officers. But the range officers also have a period with those guys before the event
to teach them,
to make sure at least they're safe and they're comfortable. Keeping in mind that the workouts have to be done in a time limit to be able to get to the shooting arena in the first place. So if you don't finish in the time limit, you don't get to shoot, purely because we're rolling a number of heats through in a day. And we want everyone to have a non-stop experience where it's just go do the workout and they can predict when they're going to start again for the next workout.
It's got to, I mean, I know nothing of shooting, so I can't even pretend to understand it. But I was chatting to ex-military guy at the gym the other day about, I was like, I've got Nick Caldwell coming on and he's doing this thing. And he's like, holy shit, I want to do that. But he was talking about it would be a unique shooting experience because you're not elevated, you're busted from carrying whatever you're doing, and how that's going to add an X element to your accuracy of how you throw the bullets down the range. That's definitely going to be an X factor. How to sort people out.
Oh, absolutely, and that's the whole intent. Like, there's not many other sports where you can actually combine the two and get the same test, effectively the same level of stress or the same requirements to recruit these complex motor skills to bring everything together to get the rounds on target within the shortest amount of time. And it's a balance between being fit and accurate. But the way the format is, it actually benefits you to finish the workout first. So it benefits the fitter athletes over the less fit but experienced shooters. So if you don't finish the workout, you might be the best shooter in the world. If you don't finish the workout in reasonable time, you could. At the end of the day, there's still a good chance that you will not win or not get a good time for that workout. But if you finish the workout quickly and you can get on the range quickly, then you can either take more time to shoot, or you can still, run through that course of fire really quickly and finish it all. As long as you get points, as long as you get points per shot, you're going to be very well in a good place. If you are very fit and you can shoot, obviously you've got a distinct advantage.
So you might do okay at this, I think.
Oh, we do okay. Yeah, and we try the workouts. We're pretty confident about one that it would benefit everyone. Like it would benefit the fitter athletes. And especially if you're not fit and you can shoot, you still got to get it in under the time limit to get shooting in the first place.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, we're not competing in it, by the way.
Yep.
There'll be people who show us up in no time anyway. But
Yep.
at the same time, it has to be tested and tested and tested again, and then the judging they have to be trained to ensure that there's no controversy on the floor. And then the safety officer side of it, well, to become a safety officer is quite an arduous process. Yeah, so those guys, we put all our trust in those guys to keep this safe sport, maintain that perception of this safe sport.
Yeah, 100%. But just thinking about it, like, is there interest yet for people to want to record it and put it live on the internet?
Yes, so we will be. Yeah, we will be.
You done that yourself?
Yeah, so thankfully we've got some good sponsors. So Trainaid have come to the party in terms of sponsoring the event. They put forward 2 of their athletes to compete as well.
Yep.
So Dylan and Shanna. So those 2 will be competing as Trainaid athletes, and Trainaid are also sponsoring the media crew. So they'll be ensuring that we capture as many memorable moments as possible. Yep. And then we'll also have photographers rolling in each of the arenas, one in the shooting arena and one in the workout arena. So there will be hopefully a myriad definitely be a myriad of social media materials to use and content to use. And we've also had the benefit of having sponsors. Like within 2 weeks, we've exceeded our expectations for getting sponsorship for this. And I think our flagship sponsor was probably the first to put their hand up and say, "We'll back you guys. This is such a good thing for our industry that we'll support whatever you guys want to do." And so Nightforce Optics have come forward, and I've got to say just quietly that I targeted them as my number 1 pick to try and get them on the sponsors. I'm so thankful that they did come on. No hesitation whatsoever. So the invitation is called the Nightforce Tier 1 Invitational. And we're very, very fortunate to have all our sponsors back us for this event. And how it gives us confidence that, one, we've got enough backing from both the fitness industry and the shooting industry. And then we plan to expand from here onwards after the first open event in June, July to every state.
I can see a local, state, national competition next year.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And New Zealand.
Yeah, and then some sort of weekend hit out or something, some sort of practice.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I like the way you think, Johnny. That's where we're thinking. Like literally, there'll need to be workshops provided at ranges. So affiliated clubs will be running workout. Basically seminars and workshops for people who want to compete. To make sure that they get the best out of their shooting experience as possible.
And I think. Like you said there was a bit of pushback from some clubs, but I would imagine, I'm going to say the smarter clubs can see incredible opportunity for their business as shooters, as a shooting organisation or shooting range, and the potential growth that could come to shooting itself as a sport because of something like this. It's going to be super exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're opening the doors to a massive whole other industry, that being the fitness competition industry. So for the clubs, and I got to say, the resistance was temporary for most clubs.
Yep.
A lot of the real reservations were around the legislation, especially changing legislation in our state WA. But there's also restrictions state by state, and in some cases, sporting in the individual shooting sports themselves. So with that, we're very confident. Obviously, Queensland is very, very amenable to this sort of activity, and as is Northern Territory, as is New Zealand. And so it only require a minor adjustment to our rule set for the other states to be able to compete in the event. We will be bringing it together to a national championships within the next 2 years. We just see, we want to do everything right. So, because it's such a new sport, we want to make sure that all the stakeholders involved in this are comfortable with where we're going with it. So we're trying to open up the channels of conversation, communication, and that's why we did a proof of concept in the first place to say, okay, righto, let's have a look at this and see if it will fly. Let's see then. Let's have a small, controlled invitational where you have 12 athletes, but get maximum exposure. So majority of both industries can have a look at it and give it the tick. And then once we get to a certain point where everyone's comfortable with it, then we start to expand it out on a larger scale and trying to get more and more people, one, into training and fitness from the firearms industry, but more people from the rest of the world into firearms industry.
Yeah, because even like you said, firearm industry in Australia is a bit of a smaller one. But if there's a whole bunch of people there that don't do fitness and they step into fitness, that's good for us too. Like that's good for me.
Oh, absolutely, it's good for everyone. Like, I mean, there's guys at every club who train. Like, there's CrossFitters in every club. There's people who love training in every club, and they like to shoot as well. So for them, it's like, this is unreal. Like, this is what we've.
This is Christmas Day
come true. Yeah. So, and for us, we're in the same boat. Like, there's no other sport we'd love to do for the rest of our lives. It's just shooting and training. Like, there's nothing but healthy. It's nothing but beneficial to the community as well. So, for us, it's like, okay, well, how can we make this work, and how can we have a process in place where, all the stakeholders are happy with how we're going with it, and if we can make sure that we maintain those standards and sustain those standards and sustain that ability to for every state to be able to compete on a level playing field, then there's no, there's like the sky's the limit effectively.
Yeah. Is there been early interest from overseas yet as well? Is there people overseas saying, "Hey, hang on a minute, that's kind of cool over there"?
Well, I mean, not yet. Only New Zealand, but that's pretty much Australia anyway. So
it's over the river.
But over the river, correct. But I mean, it's one of those things because in other countries they do, obviously there's tactical games in the States, so it's actually quite a mature sport over there.
Of course,
there are other countries that have very similar, like the Philippines have very good gun laws in terms of sports shooting.
Yep.
So in fact, some of those Filipinos are amongst the best shooters in the world at the moment.
Wow. So
there are sports that are very much open to it. Thailand is very good shooting community there as well. So we got to take one step at a time, make sure we're doing everything right. And managing the perception of this sport is very, very important, especially new games and new competitions. So we're not in a rush. We understand the risks involved. We've been playing this game for long enough to know that we've got to be very, 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 very careful and very, very watchful about every aspect of the sport to give it its best chance to fly. So that's the pace we're going. We're literally want to do everything right before we just start to rush into anything.
Yeah. Slow is fast, right?
Correct. Yeah.
I use that one all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Do you find it hard to hold yourself back on something like this? It's such a passion project, and I can see how fired up you are for this thing. Is it hard to hold yourself back and not run this thing and go for it hard?
No. I think one of the things the reason why we've been successful with the mill is that we don't rush into anything. It's like, don't rush to your death. You know what I mean? Like you really want to make sure that you've covered all your bases. Then when it's time to commit, you commit hard. You go hard at it. So we're at that point now. We're about to commit hard at it. We just got to make sure that everyone's comfortable with where we're at. Being very measured is a thing that we do, I think, very well. We plan everything to the nth degree. My desktop is full of different spreadsheets for different aspects of my life as well as my business. So it's one of those things that it gives people comfort knowing that we put that amount of rigor into everything we do. And effectively it's the trust aspect that taking that effort instills, and it makes it like a no-brainer that if someone puts this much thought into it and someone's just careful with it and someone's this measured with it, then it's much easier to earn the trust of, now in this case, the fitness community and the firearms community, the governing bodies and the legislative bodies as well. So I think if anyone can do it, we can. And I think that as long as we follow the process that has worked for us ever since we started this place, we will be successful.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think even just as a live viewing feed, like when this thing's up and running on some sort of YouTube live or wherever you're going to put the channel, I'll be watching it. Like,
right.
Because there is significant growth, I think, in fitness event, let's call it, like you were saying, like sport-based, people getting together, and there's it was just CrossFit games, and now there's all these other game things, and now there's this Hydrox thing, and I know my own sport of powerlifting, like the growth of people coming to an event and the amount of powerlifting events. Now, there's so many fitness events, but some of them pretty boring.
Yeah.
You're all right.
Well, thank you. Well, we design it hopefully that it is watchable. Yeah, it's one of those things that it's you've got to find that measure between making the competitor experience and the spectator experience just as enjoyable. And you can take a lot of lessons from other sports and how they do that. Some are better than others in terms of the spectacle of it. But one of the things that's very reassuring is that these fitness competitions are doing extremely well, really well, all over the world, which means that a lot more of the population, especially the community in Australia, like the High Rocks and CrossFit, have gone berserk. They've grown immensely. So it's a good indicator of like the culture that's in Australia in terms of, well, we've got such good weather, we've got such good conditions here, and we live in a very, very safe and also very wealthy society where we have the ability and the time and the leisure to be able to pursue things like this. So Australia's a good environment for it. And it's also a growing, like, fitness is still growing. Like, we might think that the population is growing, wider and fatter, heavier, but there's still a strong level of the population who see the value for every aspect of their life to be fit and to be uncomfortable for at least an hour of their day, if not every day, then 3 days a week.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree. I see the growth in fitness insane. Like, now it's a lifestyle choice, I think, is how I look at it.
Yeah.
In the early days, it was just either something you did or something that was cool, so you could brag to your mates you had a PT. Nowadays, it's a genuine, you do fitness as a lifestyle. Yeah. That's your thing.
Yeah, and you and I are so lucky that we can do that here in Australia. Yeah. And we can create our life, not just our life, our business, everything around this. Our community, our social network is around this place. Even my business partners from the other initiatives that we've started up over the last 14 years have been members of this place. So that the trust that is endemic in this place because of the effort we put into it has fostered relationships that have expanded our lifestyle and enabled us to do this day in, day out, and given us the luxury to be able to travel the world and mix with pro teams and learn as much from them as they can learn from you, if not more. See how pros work all over the world, not just individuals but teams as well, and then just see our sports grow from, in some cases, tactical games took a long time to get to the point where it grew. CrossFit was the same. But then once they realise it's such a good thing and it's a fun thing to do, then it just takes off exponentially.
Absolutely. But how many big ideas are wrapping around in that big head of yours?
Oh, this is the last one.
This is the last one.
This is the last one.
So I'll get you in 2 years' time to discuss the next one.
Yeah. Well, it might be we're talking about the tier one in another part of the world or something.
The international tier one games.
Yeah. So it's one of those things that the ideas factory. Like, you got so many people in this room, in this gym here, who lean forward into everything. So you're just in this ideas factory all the time, and you're never short of good ideas. And now, because we've got the gym in Brisbane, now we've got double the impact of the good ideas factory. And not all of them will fly. Some of them are just banter. Yep. But at the same time, everything we've started, even the other businesses that we do, have all been started because people trust that we would put our heart and soul into it.
Yep.
And so they'll invest in it. And this is tier one is no different to that.
But how do you go juggling it all? Like, with so many different hats you got to wear.
Great team, having a good team. Yeah. So we have an exploration company which we started in 2011. I might have mentioned the last podcast, but those were two members of the gym who one of them had sold his business and he just came to me. He'd been a member. He had passed initiation, so he'd been training with us for a little while. He said, "Hey, Nick, I've sold my business. I can see what you guys are doing," because we had a security company at the time. He said, "Oh, do you guys need any help with anything?" And just out of the goodness of his heart, he had a bit of time on his hand. I said, "Well, actually, we want to get out of security work because I got out of the army to stop travelling. I'm going to carry a gun now. I want to carry a gun for fun or for my own country rather than a corporate entity." And he said, "Have you thought about exploration, mining exploration?" I said, "No." And that's how that conversation started. That's how the exploration company started. So I was involved in that company until about 2015, full time. Then about 2018, I stepped back and focused solely on the mill. And then other camps and experiences that we provide through the mill have been the main effort for me up to this point. And the thing about the mill is because we can't sell T-shirts because we've committed to you earning the T-shirt. We can't sell the brand. We can't sell caps. We don't sell drinks. There's a limit on that. We only have 100 members. We're not allowed to have any more. Like, it's one of those things where like I said, worst business model in the world. But what has happened with things like tier one is that we can go commercial on it. And we can justifiably and morally and ethically go commercial on it. We're not selling out anything, but because for this to fly, we need buy-in from the fitness and firearms industry. We need buy-in from the government. So we have to sell ourselves. We have to get out there and say, okay, well, this is what we do, and these are the people who support us, and this is the why they support us. And so we've got to publicise every element of what we're doing in this space. And honestly, it's pretty refreshing.
Yeah,
you have to be reserved on everything we say because we want to maintain that level of trust and the expectation that people have already put into our philosophy. Now, Tier 1's really just an extension of that philosophy, but we've made it so it's commercially viable and so that we can get a maximum penetration to the target markets we're aiming for.
Yeah, I think your problem's going to be capacity.
Yeah, well, we've already identified, so thank you. Very astute observation. So that's the thing. I mean, ranges are only so big, and not all of them built for 200, 300, 400 competitors. Yep. So the model in terms of the competition model is I think we've built in enough capacity into it, and we've maximised the level of capacity that we can do within this sport or competition format safely. So it's really only limited by the amount of facilities that a host range has in terms of how many people we can get onto it. But we're ensuring that we don't need to be a high rocks. We don't want necessarily to be a 2,000, 3,000 competitors in a week, in a weekend. We want a quality event, a quality experience where it's not just while you're competing that you enjoy it. It's the actual atmosphere of just hanging around and being around the community and just making a day of it or making a weekend of it. Your family can come and watch you compete and they can enjoy it even though they're not competing themselves. So for us, that's the goal in terms of making this an experience that is sustainable. There's something that in the youngest, you can get a license in most states at 15 for a firearm. So making sure that we have in the future avenues for kids who are, qualified enough and good enough to actually do the competition. So we can make it like a sport for all ages. And we're actually getting old ourselves. We'd like to, not readily admit that we're getting old, but we also have to understand, okay, well, we still love doing it. The people like us still love doing it. Well, we've got to make it inclusive for all age group.
Yeah. So, I did have a question from one of my guys, and it was, is there going to be masters divisions to represent the more mature human?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We've got to give ourselves a chance to win something.
Yeah.
So there is, absolutely. I mean, that's the if the intent is to make it accessible to everyone, then we have to have various divisions or categories for that. So the future iterations of the Tier 1 games will start to go down that pathway. And there'll also be, obviously, there'll be different categories for licensed experienced shooters and unlicensed shooters. So it's an even playing field instead of competing against guys who are not only fit but can shoot really well. Well, those people don't get to the range very often, don't really get a chance. So the categories will be split that way as well.
Yep. Mate, I think you've thought of everything. I love it.
Well, I hope so. We're about to see in about 6 weeks' time.
Do you get this in this part when it's like it's in motion now? It's rolling. It's happening. Dates things are happening. You start getting a little
responsive. Well, you sometimes do. But it's like we're fortunate enough to have very intense experiences in our military life. Being able to put those levels of stress or our perception or perspective of that new problem into perspective is really important. So that's the benefit of having that experience and those experiences and being amongst a bunch of people who've had similar experiences. So we do get a level of ground rush in terms of we're approaching ground pretty quickly. Got to pull a parachute here so we can just soften our landing here. But we want it. The more intense it is, we actually enjoy that the ground rush and the speed with which everything is progressing. Like I mentioned, it's progressing it far quicker than I had imagined it would. I mean, to get the level of sponsorship we've got now, within 2 weeks of us actually making public that we're going to do this, has been exceeded our expectations in terms of what we can viably run and at the level that we can viably run it. So now we've got the luxury of being able to add things into it to make not only the experience better, but also make the publicity around the event better. And then we're still getting inquiries for sponsorship today, which is a benefit of actually answering your phone, by the way. That's a key learning for me.
That's a good business acumen.
Yes.
The phone answering is a good one.
Yeah, it doesn't help your business model if you've got a bad one and you don't answer your phone. So that's been really good. And obviously the public, we've had no negative feedback, nothing, no bad emails, no nothing. It's all been, where can I sign up?
Yeah.
Can I invite myself? How much is it to come and spectate? Can I shoot if I don't have a gun? All that sort of stuff. So we've got to ride the wave, and obviously we still got to keep our feet on the ground. We've got to, obviously be measured about how we do everything. You only get really one crack at this because it's quite a high. It's quite a touchy subject for most people in the non-firearms community. So it's one of those things that we understand the responsibility that's implied with this pursuit, and we take that very seriously. But we also think that we're up for the task, and if anyone can do it, we will.
Yeah, without a doubt, mate. I very much appreciate you coming on for the chat, brother. Mate, I enjoy sitting down with you, and this was for my own personal benefit because I was just jazzed about it. Tier 1 games, I wanted to know about it. And I feel plenty of other people would want to know about it because it does genuinely look exciting to see. I can't wait for it to be landing up in Brizzy, and I'll be chasing links to see where I get to click to be a part of it, my friend.
Well, mate, you're more than welcome. In fact, everyone who's in Brisbane is more than welcome to rock up. Come down on the 22nd of March.
Sweet.
Entry is free. Bring your earmuffs.
Yep.
We'll provide earbuds, but bring your earmuffs, and I'll seek you out. I'll find it. If you're in the building, let me know. Done. And I really appreciate being able to be on your podcast today, and I'll keep you up to date in terms of how things go when they happen.
I love it. We'll get you back for a chat, but for now, anyone keen who wants to find out more about it, best place to find it would be through the socials or website. What's the place to find you, bro?
tier1games.com.au and also tier1_games on Instagram. We're still expanding our social media coverage. We'll yet to get to Twitter, yet to get to any other platform at this point in time, but that will come in time. Basically the website and through our Instagram.
Done, mate. Thank you very much for coming on, mate. I'll leave with one question. It's the most important question of the day. It's getting pretty close to that time. What is for lunch?
I'm going to have a kebab, a lamb kebab.
Homemade?
No,
Homemade.
From my favourite kebab shop down the road.
That's right. I think I've got chicken rissoles and rice, not near as exciting as a lamb kebab.
It's still nice, mate.
Thanks for coming on, brother, mate. I'll drop you a message offline. I'll get this out next week for it. I can't wait for everyone to see it, and they will need to go follow the links below to go and chat to you about it.
Terrific. Thanks, Jonny.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it, my friend.